Kateru was a legend, a prodigy. In the flickering neon glow of his local arcade, he reigned supreme. Every combo, every perfect finish, echoed his name through the crowd. He was the king of the fighting games, a master forged through countless hours of practice and passion, but not everyone saw it that way. To others, his devotion was nothing but a waste of time. Just a game, they said. Just cheap tricks. Their words cut deep. So Kateru made a vow. He would leave it all behind and become a successful businessman, a man of purpose beyond pixels and controllers. 30 years later, as he watches his old rival crowned world champion, living the dream Kateru once held, the weight of regret hits harder than any final blow. Now, destiny calls him once again. What awaits Kateru Mitsushima in the world he once loved and left behind as he was isekai'd into the world of a fighting game? At school, Kateru Mitsushima never quite fit in. He wasn't bullied, but he was always alone. Just another quiet student people found strange. "You're that weirdo who never smiles," they said. "You're boring to be around." But Kateru didn't mind. He already had a place where he belonged, somewhere different. That place was the arcade. Inside the dim, noisy halls filled with flashing lights and competitive shouts, Kateru found something that captured him completely: fighting games. He watched players crowd around machines, the air electric with tension. The arcade was his escape, his world. People of all kinds gathered there: office workers stopping by after their shifts, students relaxing after school, random older men who seemed out of place, and above all, delinquents who dominated the space. Despite the rough crowd, Kateru kept coming back. At just 14, Kateru Mitsushima wasn't exactly in safe company. The arcade wasn't friendly, and the regulars weren't gentle. When he timidly asked for a turn at the machine, one of them scoffed, but another waved him on. "Chill, he's just a kid. He'll lose fast anyway." But once the match began, none of that mattered. Hands steady on the buttons, Kateru focused only on the fight. And when the final blow landed, "Ryu wins!" Gasps and curses filled the air. Older players, women, delinquents alike, none could hide their frustration as the quiet boy defeated them all. In the arcade, victory was the only truth that mattered. The crowd gathered again around Kateru's machine, whispering in disbelief. 50 wins in a row? One said. "He's unstoppable." He didn't respond. His focus never wavered. To him, this was his world, his stage, and his purpose. By the time he became unbeatable at his local arcade, Kateru had already realized why he never fit in at school. Why he could never smile like everyone else. It wasn't loneliness, it was something deeper, something sharp, buried within him. A truth he didn't want to admit. He had a nasty personality. At school, everyone pretended to get along. Students whispered behind backs, teachers smiled for show, and classmates faked laughter to survive. It was exhausting, always walking on eggshells around people. But Kateru didn't care for that world. He didn't want harmony. He wanted challenge. In games, he found the honesty school lacked. No pretense, no small talk, only skill. Pop in a 100 yen coin, take your seat, and prove your worth. Every player became an opponent he needed to defeat. No matter their age, gender, or status, everyone was equal before the screen. And for Kateru, that was liberating. No other game suited him this perfectly. When he lost, it felt like falling into hell itself. But instead of sulking, he'd walk home quietly, already planning his comeback. That night, under the soft glow of his desk lamp, Kateru opened his worn notebook. Pages filled with notes, combos, and counter strategies. A personal Bible of battle. He studied, practiced, and refined his play until his hands hurt. Days blurred into nights, each match a step toward perfection. 13 wins, 27 wins, 58, 99 wins. Every KO on screen was another validation that he belonged here. And when he finally lay in bed, exhausted but satisfied, the hum of arcade lights still echoed in his mind. In that world, the world of fighting games, Kateru Mitsushima wasn't strange or alone. He was a legend in the making. Kateru panics when he realizes he accidentally submitted his fighting game strategy notes instead of his school assignment. His teacher, curious, picks up the notebook and asks what it is. Embarrassed, Kateru explains it's just strategies for fighting games. Intrigued, she asks how that differs from martial arts. Kateru hesitates but begins to explain. He describes that the biggest difference lies in the flashy special moves, energy blasts, impossible leaps, and gravity-defying attacks. His teacher finds it amusing, comparing it to shooting a kamehameha. Kateru continues, saying that while the flashy moves attract players first, what truly sets great players apart is understanding defense. He elaborates that defense in fighting games is far easier and stronger than in real life, allowing even small characters to block powerful attacks. His teacher likens it to boxing, wondering if that makes fights all about blocking. Kateru smiles and explains further. Each character has a move called a throw, which beats blocking. He illustrates how fighting games follow a rock-paper-scissors dynamic. Throws beat defense, defense beats attacks, and attacks beat throws. His teacher quickly grasps the concept, earning Kairu's admiration. When she asks what the best part of fighting games is, Kairu's tone softens. He says it's the idea that anyone can win, regardless of age, gender, or status, if they make the right decision at the right time. His words impress his teacher, who reflects that such fairness doesn't exist in real life. Kateru jokes that even she could defeat the annoying vice principal if it were a fighting game. She laughs, finding the thought unexpectedly inspiring. After listening to Kairu's passionate explanation about fighting games, his teacher's tone softens, but only for a moment. She reminds him that in the end, it's just a game. Even if he becomes the best in the world, it won't guarantee a future. Unlike sports, which can turn into careers for the exceptional few, games rarely offer that chance. Her words are sharp but realistic. No matter how much he loves fighting games or how hard he works, he'll never make a living from them. Kateru can't argue. The harsh truth hits him harder than any loss. The teacher continues, saying that the world isn't fair and that he should start thinking about the long game of life, with high school entrance exams on the horizon. If fighting games are about making the right choices at the right time, then he should apply that same mindset to real life. Encouraging him gently, she tells Kateru she believes in his potential. His grades are good, his dedication is strong, and if he keeps it up, he'll grow into someone amazing. As he walks home, her words echo in his mind. Someone amazing, huh? He admits to himself that what she said makes sense. Maybe this is what it means to be a winner in life, to become a successful, respectable adult. But a part of him still wonders, is that really the only way? Passing by the familiar arcade, Kateru stops in front of the glowing sign of Super Game Land. The noise of buttons and cheers spills from inside. He thinks about how much he loves the game, how different that love feels from everyone else's. Sitting at the cabinet, his hands move instinctively across the controls. Who else plays like this? Who else wins this much? As the victory screen flashes 99 win KO, a crowd gathers, astonished. Whispers ripple through the arcade. He hasn't lost since yesterday, combining over 100 straight wins. Cheers erupt around him, and Kateru can't help but smile through the exhaustion. He clenches his fists, overwhelmed by emotion. There's no one else like me, he thinks. Yet, his teacher's words linger in the back of his mind. Is there really no future in this? The victory screen glows once more, 99 win KO, as Kateru silently questions whether his passion truly leads nowhere, or if he's already found something worth fighting for. Kateru had noticed the tension building for a while now. Groups of rough-looking gamers from other regions, known as invaders, had begun gathering at his local arcade. They weren't just gamers, they were trouble. One day, a group confronted Kateru, smirking as they told him to talk outside for a sec. Cornered in a narrow alley, Kateru found himself surrounded. The gang wasted no time, landing blows and kicks as they mocked him. Getting cocky, aren't you, middle schooler? One of them sneered. Bruised but defiant, Kateru muttered that he was still better than them in the game. That only made things worse. One thug grabbed him by the collar, accusing him of using cheap tactics. They called him a fraud, someone who won only through dirty tricks and gimmicks. Then came the cruel nickname, They call you Cheese Boy, the leader said, grinning with a cigarette between his teeth. The insult cut deeper than the punches. As Kaoru struggled to rise, the gang declared they were doing the community a favor by taking care of toxic players. They ordered him never to return to the arcade again. Enraged, Kaoru shouted back, demanding to know who they were to say that, but another punch silenced him. The leader leaned close, telling him to stay down or end up like that other kid, another so-called toxic player who'd tried to resist and paid the price. Seeing the beaten body nearby, Kaoru froze in shock. His body trembled as he realized the danger he was truly in. The gang leader crouched down, smirking as he lectured Kaoru. He told him that arcades weren't meant for brats like him. They were places where everyone should have fun together. When Kaoru weakly asked why, the man replied that selfish players like him ruined the fun for everyone else. His words carried mock concern, but his tone was dripping with menace. Kaoru's fists trembled. Be considerate, he thought. The phrase stung. It reminded him of school, where he'd been told the same thing whenever he stood out. Finally, beaten and cornered, Kaoru muttered in defeat, promising he wouldn't come to the arcade again. The gang seemed satisfied. Good, the leader said with a smirk. At least you know how to listen. They left him bloodied on the ground, telling him to go home. Days later, Kaoru stood before the bright sign of Super Gameland. The words, "Never come to this arcade again," echoed in his head as he clenched his fist, his bruises barely healed. Still, his feet carried him there. Just then, another boy approached him, one of the regulars who recognized him as the guy who got beat up. The boy asked if Kaoru wasn't going in. Kaoru hesitated, forcing a bitter smile. Of course he wasn't. After what happened, how could he? He told himself it wasn't worth it, that fighting games wouldn't help his future anyway. But when his friend asked why he was still going, the boy answered quietly, I don't know. I just feel like if I run away here, I'll spend my whole life running. His words caught Kaoru off guard. Kaoru clenched his fists again, frustrated. It's just an arcade, just a fighting game. How could something like that decide your whole life? He shouted. Yet deep down, those words struck something inside him, a faint spark buried under all the pain and fear that refused to die. The other boy tells him it was just a fighting game. Kaoru looks frustrated but composed. The other boy turns away, saying that if Kaoru has somewhere else he belongs, he should go there instead. Watching him leave, Kaoru smirks faintly and mutters that maybe he'll do just that, to find somewhere else he belongs. Walking through the city, Kaoru reflects on his belief that he always made the right choices at the right time. He convinces himself that this decision, to walk away, must also be right. Determined, he vows that if he ever meets that boy again, he'll prove he was right. Then, the story jumps forward, 30 years later. Now an adult, Kaoru Mitsushima has become a successful businessman. He's congratulated for rising faster than anyone else in the company's history. His boss praises him and invites him to dinner with his daughter. Kaoru accepts confidently. Reflecting on his life, he recalls how he never set foot in an arcade again since that day, instead dedicating himself to his studies and achieving top marks in elite schools. Kaoru continues narrating his success. After joining a top-tier company, he quickly climbed the corporate ladder. Meanwhile, the arcade scene he once knew slowly faded away, especially fighting games. Watching arcades close one after another, Kaoru reaffirms his belief that he made the right choice that day. Now, smoking on a balcony, Kaoru thinks proudly to himself, convinced that he won, that even the boy from his past would agree. But his moment of reflection is interrupted when a young woman approaches him. She introduces herself as Nazuna Shindo, a new employee, and insists that she has something important to discuss with him. Despite his initial reluctance, her determination catches his attention. Kaoru agrees to listen to Nazuna and sits beside her on the company rooftop. He asks if she's thinking of quitting, surprised since she's only been there for 6 months. Nazuna admits she loves the work itself but struggles to fit in with the company's culture. Kaoru quietly observes her frustration, realizing it's not the workload that's troubling her, but the atmosphere. Nazuna explains she joined the company because she was passionate about the job. But when she started giving her all, the team dynamic changed. People began whispering behind her back, calling her too intense, accusing her of being overly ambitious or not understanding teamwork. Their words echo painfully in her memory. She's too into it, doesn't get team dynamics. Read the room. Nazuna lowers her gaze and confesses that everyone told her to be more like Mitsushima-san. They described him as someone who always smiles, reads the room, and values harmony above all. Curious and desperate, Nazuna wanted to hear from Kaoru himself, how he manages to live that way and even seem to enjoy it. Kaoru leans back and admits the truth. He tells her he's never actually found it fun. All the smiling, the peacekeeping, and reading the room, it's all part of the job. Nazuna is shocked, insisting that he always seems genuine, but Kaoru confesses that it's a fake smile. Beneath the surface, he quietly mutters that he actually hates it. Nazuna, taken aback, asks why he would force himself through something he despises. Kaoru answers coolly, "Because that's how you win this game." She repeats the words, confused, and he elaborates. In this company, success means suppressing your real self, observing others, flattering your superiors, and performing your duties flawlessly. That's the winning strategy. But when Nazuna hesitantly suggests he's doing it so he can one day live freely and do what he loves, Kairu's expression darkens. He smiles coldly and simply says, "No." Kaoru leans forward with a somber smile, explaining to Shindo Nazuna that the pain she feels isn't temporary. It's forever. Shocked, Nazuna struggles to accept it, saying it's too painful, but Kaoru tells her that's just how it is, the ultimate strategy in this game. When Nazuna expresses disbelief, Kaoru bluntly asks if she's disappointed. He then tells her that the job she dreamed about as a child is nothing more than a crappy game. If she wants to stay in this world, she'll have to change herself. Otherwise, she should quit and walk away. Nazuna, stunned, asks if he's telling her to give up her lifelong dream. Kaoru doesn't hesitate. He says dreams don't pay the bills. But instead of being crushed, Nazuna thanks him. His harsh words have helped her make up her mind. As Kaoru walks away, he reflects on their conversation, wondering if he was too harsh. Still, he convinces himself it couldn't be helped. That's the life he chose. To admit Nazuna was right would mean denying his own way of life. He reasons that for her, quitting the company might be the right move, the right decision in this cruel game. Later, in the office, news spreads that a young woman from their company has taken her own life. The employees whisper that she had seemed troubled, but had planned to talk to someone she trusted, hoping it would ease her worries. Kaoru overhears the conversation, horrified. The realization dawns on him. What exactly did that person say to her? His expression hardens as the dreadful thought forms. Was it him? As he clenches his fist, guilt and shock consume him. Kaoru stares blankly at his monitor, the words echoing in his mind. I made the wrong choice? He begins typing, searching for the current state of fighting games. He learns that after the 90s, when he used to play, arcades shut down one after another. Fighting games lost their spark, slowly fading from the spotlight. But then, with the rise of the internet in the 2010s, they were reborn, this time under a new name, esports. As Kaoru scrolls through the results, he freezes. At the center of this modern fighting game boom stands one man. Shock fills his eyes as he whispers, "No way." The screen displays a name, Daigo Umihara, a champion of countless tournaments, still active today, a living legend among pros. Kairu's mind flashes back. That's the kid from back then. There's no doubt about it. During an interview, Daigo speaks about the hardships of staying in the game, how many talented players gave up. When asked if any of them could have gone pro, he recalls one. There was one, Cheese Boy. Kairu's eyes widen. That's me. The interviewer questions if Cheese Boy was just abusing cheap tactics, but Daigo shakes his head. No, he wasn't. That wasn't cheese. That was strategy. He explains that Cheese Boy's precise gameplay was misunderstood, that back then, few took fighting games seriously. To casual players, his skill looked like trickery. Kaoru leans back, staring at the glowing screen. Daigo's words echo in his mind. He was like me. Daigo's voice carries through the interview, calm but filled with respect. He explains that Cheese Boy had aimed to be the best loving fighting games more than anyone else. Kaoru clenches his fist as he listens, eyes trembling. Daigo continues, saying Cheese Boy had sacrificed everything for his passion. He recalls how he once traveled just to face him in battle, a moment that defined his drive. But he quit, Daigo says, his tone heavy, because of some stupid harassment. Kairu's eyes widen as Daigo adds, if he had kept going, I'm sure he would have been a pro. Tears well up in Kairu's eyes as he stares at the monitor, his emotions breaking through the years of regret. He reflects on his past, how he'd once abandoned the fighting games he truly loved 30 years ago. Back then, he sacrificed his sleep, refining strategies, pouring his heart into mastering every move. But instead of praise, people mocked him, calling his tactics cheese, claiming he ruined the fun. His passion twisted into pain. He remembers holding his old strategy notebook, every note a reminder of the love and effort he'd thrown away. His heart had shattered, his dreams abandoned. Yet there had been one person who understood him, Daigo. Now, Kaoru realizes that Daigo, the boy he once knew, became the best in the world. I see, he murmurs with a faint, broken smile. I get it now. He remembers another moment, a different regret. A girl from his past, someone kind, someone he hurt. He recalls how he had crushed her spirit with his words, just to protect his fragile ego. The memory hits him like a blow. What I did to her. It was no different from what they did to me. Tears flow freely as he mutters Daigo's name, wondering how things might have been different. If she had talked to you instead of me, would she still be alive? A few months later, Kaoru makes a decision. In his office, he hands in his resignation letter. His coworkers express mixed emotions, but Kaoru smiles faintly. That's exactly why, he says, his eyes steady. He no longer wants to make the wrong choice again. Reflecting on everything, Daigo, Cheese Boy, the girl, his past, he understands. Those are the people I should never have abandoned. Kaoru walks through the city, reflecting on his decision. He knows most people will laugh at him, but he doesn't care. Determined, he decides to walk his own path, one he chose for himself. Even if he ends up broke, he'll accept the outcome without blaming anyone else. Reaching an arcade, he quietly mutters, I'm home. His thoughts turn to his goal, to meet players stronger than himself and one day stand as a professional before Daigo Umehara. Suddenly, as Kaoru crosses the street, a truck barrels toward him. Someone shouts, "Look out!" But it's too late. The vehicle crashes and Kaoru is struck violently. Papers scatter as his body hits the ground. Moments later, Kaoru lies lifeless, blood spreading across the pavement. The caption reveals, Kaoru Mitsushima, died at age 44. As his consciousness fades, Kaoru reflects on his past. He believes this must be punishment for letting a woman die and for chasing new dreams as if nothing had happened. Regret fills his final thoughts. If he had another chance, he wishes to make a choice he wouldn't regret. Then, in an instant, Kaoru awakens. He finds himself lying in a mysterious forest surrounded by glowing lights. Confused, he realizes it's nighttime. What just happened? I was hit by a truck, and now I'm here, he mutters. Looking up, he spots two moons hanging in the sky. Shocked, he stares in disbelief. This isn't the world I knew. Is this reincarnation into another world? He finds himself standing beneath an unfamiliar sky, illuminated by twin moons. Confused, he realizes the impossible. He has been reincarnated into another world. Still in shock, Kaoru wanders through the forest when a group of armed men holding torches spots him. One of them shouts upon discovering him. As they surround him, Kaoru quietly confirms to himself, this truly is another world. The armed men, who appear to be soldiers or guards, confront Kaoru with suspicion. They refer to him as an otherworlder and order him not to resist, threatening to eliminate him if he does. Kaoru realizes they already know he's not from this world and decides to comply. With no other choice, Kaoru raises his hands and allows himself to be escorted. The guards lead him through a forest lined with glowing crystals. As they walk, Kaoru notes that they can communicate, meaning he can gather information. When he asks where they're going, one of the guards says they've already arrived and that everything will be explained once everyone is gathered. Kaoru arrives at an open area where a diverse group of people, men and women of various backgrounds, sit together. Each seems to be from a different walk of life, just like him. Kaoru looks around, realizing he's not the only one who has been brought to this strange new world. Kaoru stands among the group of newly gathered people, noticing how everyone around him looks different, each person seeming to come from a different country. Confused, he realizes that despite their varied appearances, they all share one thing: they're from the same world as him. A man in shining armor, the captain, commands the attention of everyone present. When the last of the newcomers is dragged in, the armored man nods and announces that the explanation will begin. Standing before a campfire, he declares loudly that everyone here has died in their previous world. The revelation stuns the group. He continues, explaining that they've all been reincarnated into this one, a second chance, a fresh start given to them by the king of this country. Kaoru listens in silence, his mind racing as he processes the captain's words. The man goes on, raising his arm and proclaiming that their new purpose is to fight. Each of them will become a fighter representing this country in battles against other nations. The crowd murmurs in confusion. One man demands, "What the hell's a fighter?" The captain answers, "Fighters are otherworlders who use their skills and knowledge in one-on-one combat." Images of brutal fights flash through Kaoru's mind as the captain describes the growing trend of battles between nations' fighters. These matches have become a world sensation, culminating in the grand event known as the World Martial Tournament. Each country will choose its strongest representative to compete. The explanation leaves the group stunned, but some, like the tattooed man, start smirking, realizing their potential status. "So basically," one of them says, "you're gonna pick representatives from among us?" The captain confirms with a proud grin, while another man adds with a smirk, "Which means we're potential national reps. VIPs, you might say." The armored captain looks down at them, amused. "Special, huh?" The realization dawns on everyone. This second life might not be a blessing after all, but a battlefield in disguise. The armored man stands at the center, his voice sharp and commanding as he mocks the gathered captives. He clarifies that the so-called tournament is nothing but entertainment, a show for royalty and nobles to enjoy during their meals. His words echo coldly, revealing the grim truth. The participants are nothing more than playthings meant to risk their lives for the amusement of the elite. As one of the guards decapitates a man without hesitation, the air turns heavy with fear. The corpse lies sprawled on the stone floor, a chilling reminder of what awaits those deemed weak or defiant. "You're nothing but spectacles," the armored man sneers, warning that anyone who falters will be immediately executed. Kaoru, seated among the others, clenches his fists as panic grips him. A second chance. And this is where I ended up, he thinks bitterly, realizing the cruelty of his situation. The armored leader surveys the group, smirking as he remarks that there are too many of them this time. The soldiers laugh in agreement, suggesting they thin the herd. The women, however, are spared, though not out of mercy, as one lecherous soldier hints at their twisted intentions. Kaoru watches silently, fury and fear battling within him. These bastards truly see us as toys. Then the captain raises his arm and declares, "Pair up!" Confusion spreads among the captives. Some demand to know what he means, while others hesitate, sensing danger. The captain only replies, "You'll find out soon enough." Realizing this could decide his survival, Kaoru's mind races. The command to pair up, and the mention of thinning out the men, could only mean one thing. This was going to be a fight for life. He scans the crowd, the serious-looking man, the cocky one with a smirk, the hot-headed guy glaring at everyone. Who should I choose, he wonders. Think. Make the right decision at the right time. That's what I was best at back in the day. And so, with tension rising and death looming, Kaoru prepares to make a choice that could determine whether he lives or dies. A tall, muscular foreigner approaches Kaoru, asking if he's Japanese. When Kaoru confirms, the man casually suggests they should pair up. Caught off guard, Kaoru hesitates. This guy is huge, easily the biggest one around, but seems friendly enough. When Kaoru asks why he wants to team up, the man confidently explains that he has a good guess about what's coming next. The organizers are looking for strong fighters, people who can use both knowledge and skill. He admits he's strong with skills, but weak on the knowledge side, so he wants someone smart to balance him out. He adds that he likes Japanese people because they're kind and loyal, and he trusts they won't betray him. That's why he chose Kaoru, who looks like the smartest one there. Realizing the logic behind his reasoning, Kaoru decides it might actually be a solid plan. Together, they could form a balanced team, one with knowledge and skill. With others already finding partners, Kaoru quickly makes his decision and agrees to pair up. The two shake hands firmly, sealing their partnership. As everyone finishes pairing off, Kaoru notes that, among all the teams, theirs seems the most balanced in terms of brains and brawn. Confident, he believes that no matter what kind of match awaits, they have the best chance to win. The announcement shocks everyone. The participants are told they will now fight their own pairs. Kaoru listens in disbelief as the armored figure explains that the winners will be taken to the capital as fighter candidates, while the losers will be executed on the spot. Stunned, Kaoru exclaims in panic, realizing they'll end up killing each other. He can't believe they're being forced to fight their teammates, the complete opposite of what they expected. Turning to his partner, he accuses him of being completely wrong about their situation, but his partner smirks confidently, saying he was right all along. He explains that their captors see their lives as worthless and would naturally choose the quickest way to thin them out. He knew from the start that pairing up meant being forced to fight to the death, and that's exactly why he chose Kaoru, the weakest-looking, most cowardly man among them. As the commander calls for volunteers to begin the first fight, Kaoru glares upward, tense and defiant. His partner steps forward without hesitation, volunteering them to go first. The others watch as he removes his jacket, revealing a massive, muscular frame covered in tattoos. Kaoru stares in shock, realizing just how monstrous his opponent truly is. At the command to begin, the crowd jeers for excitement. The knight gives the signal, and the massive man cracks his knuckles with a grin, taunting Kaoru to show some courage. Facing the towering, muscle-bound opponent, Kaoru freezes. He's a regular, middle-aged man with an average build, forced to fight someone who could crush him with a single blow. The horrifying thought runs through his mind. If I lose, I die. Before he can react, the giant lunges forward, his massive fist colliding with Kairu's face. The impact sends Kaoru stumbling back, but he's still standing, barely. His opponent mocks him, impressed he's still conscious. Checking himself, Kaoru realizes the hit wasn't as devastating as expected. Despite the pain, he's still able to move. Gathering his breath, Kaoru thinks fast. If he wants to survive, he has to rely on speed. He can't trade blows. He must dodge and wait for his chance. His opponent swings again, a wider, heavier strike than before. Reading the motion, Kaoru shifts to the side, ready to counter. But the next moment, the man's punch connects cleanly again, crashing into Kairu's body and sending him flying across the floor. The power behind it is monstrous. As he lies on the ground, Kaoru gasps in pain, struggling to understand. He could read the motion, he should have been able to dodge. Yet, when that last hit came, his body wouldn't move. He felt locked in place. His opponent laughs, stepping closer. "Lying down like that is dangerous, old man," he says mockingly. Kaoru clenches his teeth, trying to push himself up. Why couldn't I move, he wonders, still trembling. Something about those attacks isn't just brute strength. There's more to them than he realized. Kaoru lies on the ground, gasping for breath as his opponent looms over him. The man laughs loudly, feeling victorious. "Right, to end up in this other world paired with trash like you. Man, am I lucky," he boasts, reminiscing about his past. He recalls his life behind prison walls, thinking it was over, but now reveling in this new beginning. Kaoru realizes in shock, the man was a convict. The brute admits it with pride, revealing that he was on death row for murdering 3 children and 2 women. Laughing maniacally, the criminal declares himself a monster who enjoys tormenting the weak. He stomps on Kaoru repeatedly, mocking him and the watching soldiers. "This is how it works, right? Beat the crap out of your opponent and rise up the ranks." The man taunts the onlookers, calling them spineless cowards, before laughing hysterically about how this world is perfect for someone like him. Kaoru clenches his fist, thinking bitterly how foolish he's been. He recalls the day he made a terrible mistake, swayed by another's words, vowing never to repeat it. Despite his injuries, he resolves to at least land one hit, even if he can't win. But before he can act, the fight ends. The massive man wipes his mouth, standing tall over Kairu's battered body. "Captain, it's over," a voice says. The onlookers watch in silence as the criminal grins down at his fallen opponent. "I win," he declares coldly, leaving Kairu sprawled motionless on the ground. Under the flickering torchlight, the crowd murmurs as the last match ends abruptly. The armored observers dismiss it as boring. The power gap was simply too large. As they prepare to bring out the next pair, one masked overseer suddenly halts the proceedings. The defeated old man slowly stirs, prompting confusion. The crowd laughs, thinking the fight is over, but the old man suddenly lunges forward, striking his opponent by surprise. Gasps echo. The old man attacked. Even the masked overseer narrows his eyes, intrigued. Kairu, bloodied yet standing, wipes his mouth and smirks. "After all that damage, I'm still alive." He realizes something strange. He took no real damage from that last blow. His mind races. Could this world's rules be different? He turns to his massive opponent. "Hey, big guy, I've got a request." The fighter, confused but still wary, watches as Kairu raises his fist. "Hit me with everything you've got," he declares. The spectators think he's gone mad, but Kairu's eyes are sharp. He's testing a theory. "No way that was your full power," he says, challenging the man further. His opponent grins fiercely. "Then get ready. I'll give you my real full power." With a roar, the giant charges, his fist glowing with raw strength. "This time, I won't hold back." Kairu braces himself, declaring, "I'll block it." The air shatters with the impact as their clash shakes the arena once more. Kairu stands firm after taking the brute's full punch. The crowd is stunned. A hit like that should have shattered him. The massive fighter grins savagely, shouting, "How about that, old man?" But Kairu only smirks, crossing his arms as the dust settles. Piece of cake. He analyzes the situation calmly. In the real world, I'd have been blown away by that hit alone. Yet here, he took it without serious damage. That can only mean one thing. This world runs on different rules. The giant roars, charging again. "Don't mess with me. I'll snap those skinny arms of yours clean off." Kairu stays composed, observing. If this world has its own rule set, then the biggest difference is defense. He recalls his gaming days, how blocking in fighting games was simple yet powerful. In this world, blocking is easier and far more effective than in real life. He realizes attacks can't bypass a proper guard. Even when he's pushed back, his defense holds perfectly. His opponent grows frustrated. "What the hell? I can't break through his defense." Kairu grins. "Same goes for you. You can't break through mine either." Then it clicks. If everyone can block forever, fights would never end, unless he remembers the missing mechanic. His body moves on instinct. In a flash, Kairu steps in, grabs the giant's arm and lifts him clean off the ground, slamming him down with a perfect throw. The crowd gasps. "He threw him?" "That was a move from a top-tier fighter," someone exclaims. As his opponent lies defeated, Kairu stands over him, breath steady. No doubt about it, he thinks, eyes widening. This world is just like the thing I loved most. The thing I quit for a stupid reason. The dream I never got to fulfill. He clenches his fist, trembling with excitement as the flames reflect in his eyes. This world runs on the same rules as a fighting game. The blonde man, humiliated, shouts angrily at Kairu, calling him names and insisting that someone like him could never be beaten. Kairu stays composed, listening as the man rants. He admits that in their old world, a powerless man like him would never have stood a chance, no matter how scummy the opponent was. But here, in this new world, things are different. Age, gender, status, even nationality no longer matter. With a smirk, Kairu explains that the one who wins is simply the one who makes the right decision at the right time. He laughs, calling himself lucky to be paired up against such scum. Moving swiftly, he readies his stance and attacks without hesitation. He mocks the idea of mercy, saying he doesn't feel a shred of guilt even when crushing weaker foes. Kairu strikes with ruthless precision. sweeping when his opponent backs away, poking with sharp jabs and following each hit with relentless pressure. He taunts his opponent mid-fight, declaring that while some Japanese people are said to be kind and team-oriented, there are still ones like him who love fighting too much. Landing clean blows, he calls out each move, confirm hit, then combo, before chaining a devastating sequence. His fists slam into the man's face again and again until he finally launches him upward with a brutal uppercut. "Remember this," Kateru roars. "There are scumbags like me in the mix too." As his opponent crashes to the ground, completely knocked out, Kateru straightens up, breathing heavily. Then he bursts into laughter, shouting victoriously to the crowd, "The old man wins! This world rocks!" After the intense fight, Kateru is approached by a knight clad in heavy armor. The knight calls out to him, asking for his name. Kateru, still catching his breath, answers steadily, "I'm Kateru Mitsushima." The knight nods and introduces himself as Fighter Kyle, officially welcoming Kateru into this new world. Kateru looks up at the night sky, 2 moons shining brightly above. A thought crosses his mind. He once believed his life was over, but in truth, it had only just begun. This world, running on the same set of rules as the fighting games he loved most, felt like a rebirth. Now, restrained and being escorted through torch-lit streets by armored soldiers, Kateru clenches his fists. Despite the situation, determination burns in his eyes. He vows to himself, "I'll become the strongest in this fighting game, Isekai." The scene shifts to a grim reminder of where he's ended up. The bodies of fallen warriors lying lifeless on the ground. He whispers under his breath, calling it both an amazing and terrible other world. Soon, their group arrives at a vast grand city built around a towering castle, the heart of this world. Guards lead them through bustling medieval streets and grand stone halls until they reach the throne room. There, sitting upon a lavish throne, a regal woman with elven features and sharp eyes introduces herself. "I am Kyla, Chaos, King of the Byzantine Kingdom." Her voice echoes through the hall, filled with confidence and menace. She declares that in her kingdom, strength is justice, and that the weak have no human rights whatsoever. Kateru listens quietly as she continues her speech. Rather than fear, a faint grin forms on his lips. "Sounds just like the old arcades," he mutters to himself. Strength ruling all. It was the same unspoken law of the fighting games he once lived for. Kyla smirks and gestures toward a gruesome sight nearby, the broken, bloodied remains of the weak. "Look over there," she says coldly. "That's what becomes of those who can't keep up." Her tone is cruelly matter-of-fact. As others recoil in horror, Kateru stands still, processing the reality of this new world. Kyla's voice hardens as she drives her point home. "In this world, it's eat or be eaten. Sympathy is useless." Kateru lowers his gaze for a moment, his expression unreadable. But behind that calm, something fierce flickers in his eyes. Resolve. This was a world built on the only rule he ever truly understood. Kateru is shocked when he recognizes the chained woman before him, Shindo Nazuna, someone from his past life. Realizing she too has been reincarnated into this world, he's torn between saving her or staying silent. If he acts recklessly, he could become an enemy of the soldiers surrounding her. He debates within himself, weighing the danger of saving her. If he tries and fails, both of them could die. If he abandons her, she'll definitely suffer, but he'll remain unharmed. Despite convincing himself that abandoning her is the smarter choice, the cruel scene unfolding before him, Nazuna in chains, terrified, and the guards taunting her, pushes him to the edge. Unable to stand it any longer, Kateru explodes in anger, striking one of the guards and breaking into the scene. The soldiers demand to know who he is, but he ignores them, rushing to Nazuna's side. Nazuna weakly opens her eyes, recognizing him through the haze of pain. "Manager Mitsushima?" she whispers, confused but relieved. Kateru, guilt-ridden, realizes he once made the same mistake, choosing to abandon her in the past, which led to her death. This time, he refuses to repeat it. Reaching out to her, he vows with determination blazing in his eyes, "This time I will not abandon you." Kateru freezes as the queen orders her men to stand down, curious to see how this mysterious man will act. Nazuna, still trembling, calls out to him, "Mitsushima-san!" Her voice fuels his resolve. Surrounded by armed soldiers, he quickly analyzes the situation. Realization hits him. This world operates under fighting game rules. If a soldier draws his sword, it's over. But if he moves first, he might control the flow of battle. Under these conditions, the best tactic he can use is a sweep kick. He lunges low, his legs sweeping out in a fluid motion. One soldier falls, then another. "A sweep kick," he shouts, chaining the move just like in a game. The soldiers stumble helplessly, unable to counter. Kaoru recalls the mechanics. In fighting games, a knockdown opponent can't fight back until they stand. It's the simplest, most effective way to win. He keeps landing sweep kicks with perfect timing, locking the soldiers down one after another. I can win without giving them a chance to fight back, he realizes. To the onlookers, his moves seem unstoppable. Even the queen smiles in amusement. Nazuna watches in awe as Kaoru dominates the fight using only basic fighting game tactics. Amazing, she whispers, while otherworlders cheer in disbelief. Go for it, old man. Catching his breath, Kaoru smirks. These soldiers are even worse than beginners at fighting games, he mutters. What he showed them were only the most basic moves, yet it was enough to surprise them all. Just as he predicted, the regular soldiers back away, letting the duel between him and the armored general take the stage. But suddenly, his eyes widen. A shockwave blasts through the air, slamming into him before he can react. What the? That move was, he gasps, thrown violently back into the wall. There's no one near him, yet the pressure is real. The armored warrior steps forward, pointing his finger. A faint energy hums around his hand. There's no one there, but I felt a shockwave. Kaoru realizes his next opponent isn't just strong. He's using a special move far beyond basic fighting game mechanics. Kaoru faces off against a heavily armored opponent who begins to chant and move his hands in a circular motion, releasing energy. As the armored man unleashes his power, Kaoru braces himself and, realizing what kind of world he's in, Kaoru thinks to himself, it's a fighting game world. He analyzes his opponent, identifying him as a projectile character, someone who can shoot energy attacks like those in classic fighting games. The captain's combat style reminds Kaoru of those who use Hadouken in Street Fighter. He recalls Daigo Umehara, the world's greatest fighting game player, known for mastering projectile characters. These characters, Kaoru notes, embody the fundamentals of fighting games. They take time to learn, but mastering them can bring someone close to the top tier. Kaoru wonders if the captain he's facing has already reached that level or is still developing. Despite his understanding, Kaoru realizes he's at a disadvantage. He still doesn't even know his own fighting archetype, whether he's a rushdown, grappler, or zoner type. Doubt fills him as he questions if he even has any special moves at all. Meanwhile, the captain expresses disappointment. Kyle, I had high hopes for you, he says coldly, watching Kaoru struggle. Then, a voice calls out, Wait! The current king of Bizion, a small girl with pointy ears, steps forward from her throne. She asks Kaoru for his name. Mitsushima Kaoru, he replies calmly. The king smiles widely, amused and intrigued. Kaoru, you seem to be pretty strong, she says with a mischievous grin. And I like strong men. In the Grand Hall of Bizion, Kaoru stands before the throne. King of Bizion, command Captain Rikudu to allow Kaoru. She tells Kaoru she has high hopes for him and orders him to strive to become the nation's representative fighter. Kaoru nervously agrees. Later, in a dim chamber, Kaoru approaches the bound Nazuna, who is hanging by her wrists. Relieved, she whispers that they were spared. Kaoru moves to free her, but the king interrupts, questioning his actions. She reminds him sharply, she never said Nazuna could go. Kaoru freezes as the king grins, declaring that she likes strong people and despises the weak. While she forgave Kairu's rudeness for his strength, she has no tolerance for weakness like Nazuna's. Guards seize Kaoru, restraining him as the king orders the punishment to continue. Kaoru shouts desperately for them to stop. One of the knights mocks him, warning not to get cocky. Nazuna screams as she's struck again, begging for help. Kaoru struggles, torn between rage and helplessness, realizing he'll lose her again if he doesn't act. Suddenly, Kaoru calls out to the king. He begs for a chance to speak, a proposal. Intrigued, the king listens. Kaoru reminds her that she claims to hate the weak and admire the strong. Then, with fierce determination, he challenges her perspective, asking, doesn't she want to witness the moment when the weak become strong? Kaoru stands before the throne, his clothes torn and body bruised, but his eyes burn with determination. The queen's mocking laughter echoes through the hall as she calls him a fool for daring to challenge her strongest warrior. Kaoru, ignoring her ridicule, pleads for just 1 week. He declares that within that time, he will turn the woman, Shindu, into a warrior stronger than even Captain Rikudo, the nation's most formidable fighter. The court erupts in disbelief. The queen smirks, intrigued yet skeptical. Captain Rikudo is the best fighter in this nation, she reminds him coldly. There's no way you could do that. But Kaoru doesn't back down. His voice shakes, but his conviction doesn't falter. I'm confident, if I have time, he says. When asked what will happen if he fails, Kaoru, drenched in sweat and desperation, pledges himself before the king of Bizion. I will live the rest of my life as your slave, he declares, his voice unwavering. The king of Bizion, amused by his declaration, bursts into laughter, mocking him for his devotion. My dog, huh? Is that your overconfidence showing, or are you just a pervert? She teases, calling him a strange man. Intrigued by his words, the king smirks. Interesting. If you can really do that, I'd love to see it, she says. Relieved, Kaoru believes his risky gamble has worked and hurriedly asks if Nazuna will be released. But the king's tone changes. But Kaoru, you're misunderstanding one thing, she warns. With a chilling smile, she explains that while she hates the weak and admires the strong, what she truly loves most is something else, tormenting and humiliating the weak. Her face twists into a sadistic grin. Now then, do it. Kaoru's eyes widen in horror as the command is given. Bound and barely clothed, Shindu Nazuna screams in agony as she's branded by the king's magic, her body writhing in pain. Kaoru shouts in desperation, "Stop!" But it's too late. His face contorts with rage and helplessness. Damn it! Damn it all! When the pain subsides, Nazuna lies motionless on the cold floor, her body bruised and marked, the brand still burning on her abdomen, proof of the king of Bizion's cruel pleasure. As the cruel laughter of the king of Bizion echoed through the throne room, Kaoru's rage simmered beneath his trembling fists. The king, satisfied, leaned back on her throne, her lips curling into a wicked smile. That was the best, she sighed with pleasure, mocking the despair before her. Kaoru could barely stand. His body was bruised, his heart broken. Shitty brat, he muttered under his breath as he turned to leave, but deep within his eyes, a new fire had been lit, the blaze of vengeance. I'll never forgive you, King Bizion. That night, under the pale light of twin moons, Kaoru returned to the fighter trainee dormitory. The world outside was quiet, but inside his room, his mind roared with fury and resolve. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, unable to rest. This can't go on. Rising from his bed, he stared out the window. The stars glimmered faintly through the glass. His hands clenched. I'll aim to become the strongest in this fighting game world, he vowed. But even as he said it, he knew strength alone wouldn't be enough. To protect her, to protect Nazuna from ever being hurt again, his grip on the desk tightened. I need to aim for the fastest path to becoming the strongest. For that, I must understand my enemies and know my own abilities. He opened a fresh notebook, the ink gliding across the page. This new strategy notebook shall be my lifeline. Every page would hold his research, his tactics, and his evolving plan for revenge. Since I don't know who the enemy might be, I need to keep my training and strategy completely secret. As he wrote deep into the night, a sudden knock-knock echoed through his room. Who is it this late? Kaoru asked, hesitating before opening the door. Outside stood 3 girls in school uniforms, their expressions serious yet hopeful. The leader, confident and determined, stepped forward. Sorry for coming so late, she said, bowing slightly. But you're the only one we can rely on. Kaoru blinked in surprise. Rely on me? The girl met his eyes without flinching. Teach us how to fight in this other world. Looking weary, asks why they're asking him of all people. One of the girls explains that he's strong and seems trustworthy. They saw him defeat a large opponent and heard he could make someone strong in just a week, so they believed he could help them too. But Kateru flatly refuses. Shocked, the girls demand to know why. He coldly asks why they assumed he'd help them in the first place. One of them insists it's because he risked everything to protect a girl earlier, believing that makes him someone who can't ignore the weak. Kateru, however, denies it, saying she's mistaken. He's a cold-hearted man who doesn't care about others. The only reason he protected Nazuna Shindo was because she's a special person to him. Angered, one of the girls shouts back, accusing him of not caring if the rest of them die. She reminds him what fate awaits any girl who can't fight. Kateru brushes off the comment, saying it's not his concern. The girls leave, bitterly calling him just another selfish man. As the door closes behind them, Kateru stands silently, wondering if he's disappointed Nazuna again. Nazuna, lying in bed, softly calls his name. Kateru mutters that in this world you can never be sure who might betray you. Nazuna gently protests, saying those girls were harmless, just ordinary girls. Teaching them a few tricks wouldn't have hurt. Kateru looks thoughtful as Nazuna asks what he believes is the most important thing to become stronger in this fighting game-like world. She guesses it must be physical strength or reflexes. Kateru stays quiet, lost in thought. As Nazuna listens, Kateru finally answers her question. The key to survival in this world, he says, isn't strength or reflexes. It's knowledge. He explains that in this fighting game-like world, information is everything. A difference in knowledge means a difference in power. Without the right info, even strong players can fall. He compares it to a new game. Those who know the mechanics can dominate, while others who act recklessly could end up defeated. Sharing that knowledge carelessly, he warns, could make anyone a threat, turning even allies into dangers. Nazuna listens intently as Kateru continues, saying that fighting games are ultimately battles of information. She understands his point and vows to gain that knowledge too, determined to stand beside him. Kateru agrees but adds that he'll keep his word no matter how long it takes, because it's the only way he can atone for his past. With resolve in his voice, he tells Nazuna his goal. He wants her to become stronger than anyone else. Nazuna, stunned by his words, repeats them to herself in disbelief. Stronger than anyone? The next day, the scene shifts to the Iron Gate Beginner Arena. New recruits gather as an instructor shouts for everyone to assemble. Kateru stands among the group, calm and observant. The instructor orders everyone to change into their fighter costumes. The men, including Kateru, quickly change into simple martial training outfits. Kateru tests his gloves and stance, catching the attention of others who murmur in surprise at his composed presence. Then, the girls step out, and everyone freezes. Their fighter costumes are far more revealing than expected. Embarrassed, they try to cover themselves as the onlookers stare. Kyoko yells for them to stop looking, while Nazuna blushes deeply, questioning the absurdity of the outfit. The group of new recruits gathers as the officer calls for silence. The vice captain steps forward to explain the rules of the Iron Gate. Kateru listens carefully, aware that missing even one detail could mean death. The vice captain holds up a coin, announcing that each participant will receive 2 credit coins, each one representing a week of their life. 1 coin covers food, shelter, and clothing for that week. A man questions if the coins simply run out after 2 weeks, to which the vice captain confirms. Before time runs out, the recruits are told they can steal credits from others through duels. The only way to take another's coin is by mutual combat. The winner claims 1 credit from the loser. Kateru reflects grimly that their lives are now worth 2 credits. Intrigued, Kateru compares this deadly system to his old arcade days, back when battles were endless and each coin represented a shot at survival. He recalls holding on to the small savings that bought him 1 more round, but now, losing all credits means death. He realizes he must be cautious. In a place like this, just like the arcades, the predators, newbie hunters, will soon appear. And indeed, 2 men approach another recruit, pretending to be friendly while challenging him to a duel. Kaoru recognizes their type, players who prey on beginners just to steal credits. He observes that while these men lack pride or ambition, they're still inexperienced. Information and awareness are the real weapons here. Fortunately, duels require mutual consent, unlike the forced battles of the arcade. As Kaoru watches, one recruit wisely refuses a challenge. He notes that with even a week of training, a newcomer can rise above low-level opponents. If they don't fall for provocation, the newbie hunt can be avoided. Kaoru quietly approves, recognizing that patience and restraint are the keys to survival inside the Iron Gate. Kaoru watches grimly as the chaos unfolds among the recruits. He knew it was only a matter of time. 3 girls who stood out too much were bound to become targets. Around them, rough men close in, their grins showing ill intent. One of the girls, frightened, shouts for them to stay back. But before anyone can react, one of the men reaches out and grabs her indecently, mocking her with a smirk and claiming it was an accident. The others laugh cruelly. Kaoru clenches his jaw, recognizing their tactic. They provoke their victims, waiting for retaliation. If the girls fight back, it becomes grounds for an official duel, a setup to steal their credits. He mutters to himself, urging them to endure it, because that's how the predators operate here. But anger flares before caution can take hold. One of the girls, unable to stand the humiliation, glares at the man and accepts his challenge. She declares that she'll duel him. Kaoru curses under his breath, calling her an idiot for taking the bait. The man grins, pleased that his trap worked, and accepts the duel. Her friends call out in worry, but she reassures them. Stepping forward, she raises her hand and takes a stance. She tells them that it's all right. She used to practice karate. The crowd goes silent as she prepares to fight, determination blazing in her eyes. Dust stirs in the arena air as the duel is about to begin. The tension between prey and predator about to turn into a real battle. Kyoko lies battered on the ground, admitting her defeat. She reflects on her efforts, how she practiced karate and believed she could hold her own even against a man. At the start of the match, she tried to analyze her opponent's moves, but he made an unpredictable jump attack, catching her off guard. Despite her preparation, she couldn't react. The man grins victoriously, taking her coin as the match ends. During the fight, Kyoko had tried to read his movements, but the newbie hunter repeatedly used the same leaping attack. She tried to counter it, thinking she'd defend better next time, but his relentless jumping and attacking left her no room to recover. Every hit pushed her further back until she was completely overpowered. Her defeat left her and her allies vulnerable, turning them into easy prey for the men around them. From that moment, Kyoko and the other women began to live in constant humiliation. The men who saw them as weak started harassing them openly, and no one stepped in to help. What hurt Kyoko the most wasn't just the mistreatment. It was the fact that everyone simply watched without lifting a finger. Kaoru observes how more and more people appear each day, mocking the losers even though they never fought themselves. He remembers his own past, growing stronger alone while hating those who looked down on the defeated. Yet he acknowledges the harsh truth. This world is ruled by survival of the fittest, and merely staying alive is already a blessing. Still, guilt lingers in him. If he had taught Kyoko how to fight properly, she might not have fallen to those newbie hunters. Time passes, until the day comes when Kyoko loses all her coins. The man who once defeated Kyoko grabs her by the hair, taunting her cruelly in front of everyone. He mocks her helplessness, asking if she plans to fight him again or if one of her friends will take her place. The room fills with laughter as the onlookers jeer, showing no sympathy for her humiliation. Kyoko's friends watch in silence, guilt and fear written on their faces. The man ridicules her further, questioning the worth of her so-called friends who do nothing to defend her. He offers her a twisted deal. If she fulfills his wish, he might share some of his coins. Kaoru observes, torn between anger and resignation, telling himself that in this ruthless world, prioritizing one's survival is the only way to live. Yet, when the man orders Kyoko to come to his room, Kaoru's thoughts betray him, his hatred boiling over at the sight of such cruelty. Kyoko trembles, torn between pride and despair, but before she can respond, her friend Miku steps forward declaring she'll go instead. The room goes silent as everyone turns to look at her. Despite their earlier hesitation, both Miku and Kako insist. They could never abandon Kyoko, no matter what happens. They plead, desperate to protect her in any way they can. The man laughs, calling their friendship useless in this world where strength rules all. Kaoru watches, silently questioning whether their bond truly means anything, if it's really the kind of strength he once believed in. A memory flickers in his mind, one of the past, of choices he now regrets. He clenches his fist, thinking, if only I hadn't turned down that offer back then. Finally, the man smirks and agrees to take both girls at once, his tone dripping with mockery. Kyoko calls out their names, horrified. But before the man can take another step, a calm voice interrupts. Kaoru steps forward, his expression cold and steady. "Excuse me," he says. "Would you fight me instead?" The room falls silent. The man turns, annoyed, sizing Kaoru up. He scoffs, calling him an old man and assuming he's just another weak newcomer. But Kaoru doesn't flinch. With a faint grin, he repeats the challenge, eyes locked on his target. Kaoru holds up 2 coins, offering a deal. If the man can beat him, he'll win both. The smug opponent accepts, thinking Kaoru's an idiot. Kyoko watches nervously as Kaoru steps forward, declaring this fight isn't to save anyone but a choice to become stronger. Facing the crowd, Kaoru explains there are 3 basic attacks used by newbie hunters: the throw, the sweeping kick, and finally, the jump. His opponent grins, preparing to use that very move. Leaping high, he yells his attack, but Kaoru remains calm, analyzing every motion. As Kyoko warns him about the strength of jumping attacks, Kaoru counters with precision. He anticipates the strike, launching himself upward. "Anti-air!" he shouts, landing a perfect counter mid-air that sends his opponent crashing to the ground. The stunned crowd looks on as Kaoru stands victorious. The defeated hunter lies motionless, while Kyoko approaches in awe. She thanks him, amazed at how easily he handled the fight. Kaoru smirks, picking up the coin. "I'll be taking your coin," he says coolly, having won the match without letting his opponent land a single blow. Kaoru holds out the coin, smirking as he surprises everyone. He never said it was a gift. The girls look at him in confusion as he explains he'll give the coin, but only if they grant his wish. Their expressions twist in suspicion, wondering if he's another creep. But when he finally reveals his request, it's simple and unexpected. Kaoru wants them to become his sparring partners. Kyoko blinks in shock, confirming if he means training partners. Kaoru nods, explaining that strength isn't built alone. In the pro scene, the strongest fighters have coaches and allies to sharpen their skills. He recalls a man who once traveled the world searching for a rival strong enough to challenge him. Inspired, Kaoru admits that he too needs comrades he can trust. Looking at Kyoko, he tells her she's not ready yet, but he'll train her until she is, if she's willing to endure it. Determined, Kyoko clenches her fists and accepts with fiery resolve, calling him teacher. Meanwhile, in the royal capital of Bizion, the former king, Alex Chaos, speaks with his daughter about a new concern. She reports rumors of a fighting gamer among the recently reincarnated, an individual with extraordinary battle instincts. Alex confirms there might indeed be one. A man named Kyle who shows promise. As they discuss potential threats, news arrives that the western nation of Montero has succeeded not in reincarnating, but summoning one of the 5 gods of fighting games. Alex warns that such overconfidence could be dangerous. The revelation sets the stage for an even greater clash, one that could shake the balance of the world itself. If I get 100 likes and 100 subscribers from this video, I'll cover the latest chapter right away.